Let's roll.
Con. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Okay, we got the um, Elder Yatazak here, and I'm the brother Anah from GMS Dallas, and we're going to be going into the book of First Samuel, chapters 6 and 7 today. We're doing a series of First Samuel, and so these two chapters are mostly history, but a lot of a lot of these history chapters can get overlooked sometimes. And so, a lot of chapters in First Samuel are like this, like history based, but also you got a lot of prophecy, a lot of good stories in here, like King David. He's going to be introduced after King Saul. So that whole narrative is going to be dived into as we continue on in this book. Okay, but these two chapters, specifically chapters 6 and 7, are basically going into how the Ark of the Covenant was with the Philistines for a period of time, and then ultimately the Lord brought the Ark of the Covenant back to Israel, and the way and the fashion that the Ark of the Covenant was brought back to Israel was was spiritual in itself. So without further ado, if you didn't have any opening.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing about it, when you go into the history and you go into the accounts. Matter of fact, get Romans 15:4 real quick. When you go into our history and you go into our accounts and you understand that there's nothing new under the sun, pursuant to Ecclesiastes first chapter. You understand reincarnation. We've been here before. Times are reincarnated. People are reincarnated. Situations are reincarnated. You see? And when you see how our forefathers handled these situations, it gives you a leg up on everybody else through the spirit, just because you've been able to go back into the past to see how to handle the present and the future. You see? So it may be boring to some people to go back into the history, but the reason why is because they haven't been opened up, because you have to know the history to deal with the present and to know what's coming in the future. It ain't no way else. It ain't no way that a person without understanding can grab a hold of all that. Mm-hmm. You see? So when you do go into these accounts, just like the apostles and elders teach us, put yourself in that situation. Right? I did a lesson some years back. What was it? Has thou tried my servant Job? Put your name right there. Right? Put your name right there, because it's the faith of our forefathers that we're gonna have to lean on to grow. Go ahead and bring it out.
Con. This is Romans chapter. Oh, let me show my screen real quick. Romans chapter 15. All right, this is Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. It says, "For whatsoever things are written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope."
That's what I'm saying. Learning. I'm saying you going back for the learning to hear about what happened, right? And it's also going to bring forth patience, comfort, hope, things that every Israelite, every follower of Yahweh Shai believes. Mm-hmm. You're going to need these things, man. These things aren't given to everybody. So when you go into these accounts, understand that you can put yourself in that position to make it hit home. And then you also understand that this is coming for you too. Mm-hmm. All this tribulation that we read about, all these different it's coming. It's coming back, and we got to be ready for it. It's written that men and women and children are going to be ready for it when it comes, and it's also written that some of them ain't. So us reading First Samuel right now, you had Israelites that were afraid of the Philistines, and you had Israelites that weren't. Let's go. Con. That was it on that.
Okay, Con, I had a precept too in Jeremiah real quick. Jeremiah chapter 18. Because this is what a majority of our people have the mindset of, basically saying F history is boring, who cares? This is Jeremiah chapter 18 And verse 15, it says, because my people hath forgotten me, they have burned incense to vanity, and they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths in a way not cast up, meaning the ancient paths, those were the ways of old, the ways of the men of the Lord that walked in righteousness according to what Yahweh Hashem Yahshua set up. Well, a lot of our people, a lot of the Lord's people, who are the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they've forgotten those ancient paths, you know. And when you burn incense to vanity, that doesn't mean you physically lighten up an incense stick to the god of vanity, but your actions are indicative of basically not caring about what the Lord wants, but caring about your own flesh, which is vanity. Okay, caring about what your flesh wants. Okay, so you know, just to those individuals that don't want to go into the history, well, yeah, you gotta walk in the ancient past, and the ancient past was knowing your history.
I'll say what happened. Well, I'll say this: people get so offended by history, right? What happened to Stephen when he went into the history?
He got stoned.
You see?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you. It just goes to show you that the Lord reveals his secrets to his servants, the prophets, through the scriptures and through the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
That's
if you don't understand that, then hey, it is what it is. You got it.
Fine. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start here in 1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 1. It says, and the ark of the Lord, the ark of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, was in the country of the Philistines for 7 months. So that's not like no little short period of time. The ark of the Lord wasn't just gone for a weekend, you know. And by the way, you know, the temple, or I'll say the tabernacle of the Lord, because Solomon built the first dedicated, you know, temple that we know as the first temple. But there was a tabernacle, you know, which was a tent, you know, that was set up, and the ark of the Lord was put up in Shiloh, and that's pretty much, you know, where the sacrifices and things like that were done. And so, you know, that time period, you know, there was no ark of the Lord, you know what I'm saying, in Israel's possession, which is synonymous of basically the time period that you know, that we're in right now. You know, for those that are without Yahweh Shai, they have no connection to the Most High. Okay, and so it says in verse 2, and the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, what shall we do to the ark of the Lord? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. You know, because again, they didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? They didn't know how every time somebody tried to, you know, mess with it, you know, the Lord was plaguing everybody, all the different cities. We read in chapter 5 last week about how, you know, the Philistines, the Lord was smiting the Philistines with hemorrhoids, you know, which, you know, that was causing them to be bewildered. They didn't know what to do. They were bewildered.
It was very painful.
Mm-hmm.
That is very painful and uncomfortable.
Yep. So it says in verse 3, and they said, if ye send away the ark of the Most High of Israel, the God of Israel, send it not empty, but in any wise return him a trespass of offering. You see? So they were in
hell.
Yeah. So they were in the spirit of like saying, like, look, you know, okay, we've done something bad. We pissed off the God of Israel. So if we're going to send it back to Israel, we got to send it back with an offering, okay? Because we don't want this curse to continue to, you know, to be upon our people. You know, this is what the Philistines were saying. So it says, then ye shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. You know, so they have faith that, you know, if they sent the ark of the Most High back to Israel, that, you know, the Lord will stop, you know, jacking them up. Okay. And it says in verse 4, then said they, what shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? Because they were asking, you know, the Philistines were counseling among themselves. You know, the priests and the diviners of the Philistines were who were answering these questions that you know, the common folk were asking, right? So it says they answered 5 golden emerods and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Philistines. For 1 plague was on you all and on your lords.
I was saying the Lord ain't gonna accept none of that stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the Lord set up Israel for you to obey us, to glorify Him. You see? So when these heathen nations offer up their sacrifices, it's not being accepted. You see? I would say they should have known better than to take the Ark of the Covenant from the Israelites as far as the Lord is concerned. You know what I'm saying? And for them thinking they had a victory by taking it, He automatically turned their sugar to shit.
Yep.
Go ahead.
It says in verse 5, wherefore you shall make images of your emerods and images of your mice that mar the land, and ye shall give glory unto the power of Israel. Peradventure, He will lighten His hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land. Yeah, so pretty much this was the council that the priests and the priests and the diviners, like the not Israelites priests, but the priests, the priests of the Canaanites.
I'm gonna read the commentary. Right, it says, although the Lord used the Philistines to judge Israel, He would not allow them to dishonor Him. You see they was talking, they had plans for the Ark of the Covenant. You see, it says He showed that the capture of the Ark did not mean that He was inferior to the Philistine god Dagon. Wherever the Ark went, it brought trouble to the Philistine people. A plague of mice seems to have spread a painful and deadly disease throughout the country, bringing widespread suffering and death. The Philistines felt fairly certain that the Ark was the cause of their troubles. So they did send it back to Israel, along with gifts to Israel's God to pay for their sin and capturing the Ark to test whether their theory was correct. They planned to put an Ark on a new cart to be drawn by 2 milking cows that have pulled a cart and had only recently calved. The cows were to be left alone to see if Israel's God directed them to take His Ark back to Israel. Normally, the cows would want to break loose and return to their calves. God restored His honor by bringing the Ark back without the Israelites doing anything at all. The Israelites accepted the Philistines' gifts and offered sacrifices to the Most High, but the Most High killed those Israelites who looked into the Ark. He wanted to impress upon the people that the Ark was sacred. They were not to treat it as an object of curiosity or superstition. The people then took the Ark and placed it in a private house in the nearby town of Kiriath Jearim. You see? So heathen hands or Israelite hands, if you out of pocket, the Lord will destroy you. You see? Because it was all about their intent. You see? They were using the Ark of the Covenant as a playing card. You see, whether they're repenting to the Heavenly Father and asking Him to deliver us. You see, and how much for the heathen, right? Well, if this thing doing all these things for Israel, then it's gonna do hell stuff for us. Nah, man. And you see how the Lord responded. He started killing people. Go ahead.
Back here. All right, continuing on in 1 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 5, it says, verse 6, it says, wherefore then do ye harden your hearts, as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts?
That's what you see him talking about what happened in the past to deal with what's going on in the present, to get everybody what's ready for the future. That's nothing new under the sun. That's what Samuel's doing it. We're going into the history, right? And as we go into the history, the prophet Samuel goes into the history. So it's okay to go into the history.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yep.
You can't, like what the apostles say, you can't understand the mystery if you don't know the history. That's why you got so many people fumbling when it comes to the understanding on the scriptures, man. And the Lord said that when people wrestle with the descriptions, with the scriptures, it leads to their destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Khan, it says, wherefore then do ye harden your hearts, as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts, when he had wrought wonderfully among them? Did they not let the people go, and they departed? And that wonderfully wasn't, oh, the Most High rained down, rainbows and teddygrams from the sky. That wonderfully was those 10 plagues. Matter of fact, I actually had that held precept to that real quick. In Exodus, and there's multiple times where it talks about how the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart. But basically, this is just one here in Exodus 14 and verse 7. It says, and behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians. See, that was the Most High's work that he did. And he did that intentionally, man, so that he can bring forth that judgment on Egypt. And that's one thing to remember. The Lord, like the scriptures say, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, man. Like the rivers, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord controls, what decisions we make at the end of the day. Because like the scriptures say in Isaiah 55, none of the Most High's words are going to return unto him void. It says, and they shall follow them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots and upon his horsemen.
I'm saying, you got to think about it, man. Those plagues went from annoying to scary to deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. So that's what I'm saying. You got to understand the times that we in now. You see, the way that the Lord has set it up, he sends his servants, the prophets, to tell the people what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You can either hearken or not. You see, but as you get into the ministry, you gonna go into the history. Why? Because you're putting respect on the Lord's name. Respect, respect is to look back on the Lord's work by going into the history and seeing that he ain't fucking playing. Read.
God, it says, verse 7, now therefore make a new cart and take 2 milch kine on which there hath come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart and bring their calves home from them. And that is, we already read the commentary describing that, the two cows that have never done any work, that don't, that have their calves, their young ones taken from them. And it makes sense, the thing that they did, to see if it would work or not. And basically ended up working, Verse 8, it says, and take the ark of the Lord of Yahweh and lay it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold which ye return from him for a trespass offering in a coffer by the side thereof, and send it away that it may go. It says, verse 6, and see if it goeth up by the way of his own coast to Beth Shemesh, then he hath done us this great evil. Talking about the Most High. If the cows go up back to the land of Israel, then it was of the Most High that did those evils upon the Philistines. It says, but if not, then we shall know that it is not his hand that smote us. It was a chance that happened to us. And nothing happens by happenstance. Nothing occurs by random, luck or chance. Okay, that's all the lot and everything like that. Lot, every time you flip a coin or whatever the case may be, those things are all influenced by Yahweh Shem Yahushai. That's why we cast lots, because we know, that's what men did in the ancient world. Okay. And we know that the Most High, if we pray upon that lot, he'll be with it. And so this is basically what the Philistines decided to do. And it says in verse 10, and the men did so, and took 2 milch kine and tied them to the cart, and shut up their calves at home. And they laid the ark of the Lord upon the cart, and the coffer with the mites of gold, and the images of their emerods. And the kine took the straight way to the way of Beth Shemesh, and went along the highway, lowing as they went. So basically, this is not a normal behavior of cows. You know, they don't just walk with no guidance. They just, you know, but in this case, the Lord basically led those cows, you know, down the highway. There was a highway, basically not like how we have a highway, like pavement, but, you know, a way of commerce. And you know, things would go from city to city. So they went along the highway, lowing as they went, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. So imagine that, cows just basically walking down, you know, down the path, you know, the dirt road with no guidance. But ultimately, they were guided by the Lord. They weren't guided by a herdsman. They were guided by the Most High, right? And they didn't just go veer off into the grass. They walked straightly, you know, to where the Most High wanted them to go. And the lords of the Philistines went after them unto the border of Beth-Shemesh. So the Philistines were, you know, kind of following the calves to see which way they would go. Okay, and lo and behold, verse 13, it says, and they of Beth-Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley, and they lifted up their eyes and saw the ark and rejoiced to see it. Now, again, Beth-Shemesh was a city that was inhabited by Israel. So this was like on the border, you know, of the Philistines, but this was Israel's land. Okay, it says, and they rejoiced to see it. And excuse me, in verse 14, and the cart came into the field of Joshua, a Beth-Shemite, and stood there, where there was a great stone, and they clave the wood of the cart and offered the kine a burnt offering unto the Most High. Yeah, so those same cows that brought the Ark of the Covenant back, you know, that, you know, they were sacrificed as a burnt offering to the Most High. Okay, I want to get this precept before we continue. Just going into this psalm here, specifically Psalm 78. This account,
another history lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. Psalm 78 goes into a lot of our history. It kind of summarizes it. But this one, this specific verse, these two verses were actually talking about what we've been reading here in 1 Samuel chapters, you know, 4, 5, and 6. So this is Psalm chapter 78 and verse 60. It says, well, actually, I'll start at verse 59. It says, when the Most High heard this, he was wroth and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh. Matter of fact, I want to get this word tabernacle real quick to distinguish it from the temple. That word tabernacle is Strong's H4908, Mashakan. Let's see here, dwelling place, tabernacle. It says a residence, including a shepherd's hut, the lair of animals, figuratively, the grave, also the temple, specifically the tabernacle. And basically it's a tent, you know, versus a stone, like, you know, how the temple of the Lord was made, was more of a permanent structure. You know, this was before the temple of the Lord. This is before Solomon's temple. So this was the dwelling place of the Most High, but it wasn't in this great, grand, illustrious building like how Solomon built the house for the Lord. No, this was a tent, if you will, you know, but the Ark of the Covenant was inside, and the other holy things. So going back here to verse 61, it says, and he delivered his strength into captivity, talking about the Ark of the Covenant, and his glory into the enemy's hand. So I thought that was interesting that was mentioned here in Psalm 78. This account that we're reading was mentioned in Psalm 78. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway,
that chapter goes into the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
It does a whole bunch of different stuff, man. It goes back to Egypt. That's what I'm saying. Bro, without the history, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? You see, you got all these people, the Old Testament guys. They rip out the New Testament and the Apocrypha, right? You got the New Testament guys. They rip out the Old Testament. You got the people that don't believe in the Apocrypha at all, and it's all the same story. It's all the same story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Matrix Part 1. I just started with Matrix Part 3. You got to watch all three of them. Now you got to watch the fourth one. You're not going to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing you need to be doing, if you don't know what's going on, is arguing with somebody that do.
Man.
But yet here we are. You got Israelites that don't believe in the name of the Heavenly Father and think He gonna deliver them. Let that sink in. And when we go into the history talking about how the name of the Lord has been important the whole time, a nigga will argue with you. Oh, no. We ain't Hebrew Israelites. We just Israelites. Not according to going back into the history, you not.
Mm-hmm.
What? Hey, but we trying to establish how important the history is through the Spirit. You should want to go back. Go ahead, Doc.
Con. All right, so continuing on in 1 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 15, it says, and the Levites took down the ark of the Lord and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrifices the same day unto Yahweh. Yeah, man, because like I said, the ark of the Lord was gone from Israel for over 7 months. So, like I said, we kind of fast forwarded a little bit, but that wasn't no short little. That wasn't, that was kind of nice, a nice long little period of time that was that the ark of the Lord was gone. And so, they were, of course, elated to see that the Lord brought it back. Because you could think about how Israel was probably trying to figure out, man, what we gonna do now? You know what I'm saying? How we gonna get the Ark of the Covenant back?
Yeah,
but,
I'm saying instead of thinking, when they was thinking how we gonna get it back, the thing was it shouldn't be gone in the first place.
Right. Yep.
You see,
Yep.
It was their thought process that was getting them jacked up. Go ahead.
God. All right. Verse 16, it says, and when the 5 lords of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. So kind of just showing a little bit of that map there. Again, this area of Gath, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, like this was where Ekron was, and this is where Beth Shemesh was, like in this area right on the border, of Philistia, like the Philistines' territory and Judah's territory. Okay, so continuing on here in verse 17, it says, and these are the golden emeralds which the Philistines returned for a trespass offering unto the Lord Yahweh, for Ashdod 1, for Gaza 1, for Ashkelon 1, for Gath 1, and for Ekron 1. Okay, because those are all the cities that the Lord jacked up of the Philistines. And the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines, belonging to the 5 lords, both of fenced cities and of country villages, even unto the great stone of Abel, whereon they sat down the ark of the Lord, which stone remaineth unto this day in the field of Joshua the Bethshemite.
That's what I'm saying. Look, man, come on, man. You got to go back to the history. You got to go back. All the prophets did. And that's what I'm saying. Without going into the history, it don't make sense talking about the present or the future. Go ahead.
Con. It says, and he smote the men of Beth Shemesh because they had looked into the ark of the Lord. Even he smote of the people 50,000 and 70 men, which is 50,000 and 70 is 20. I'm sorry, 20, 60, 60 and 10, so 70. 50,000, 70 men. You know what I'm saying? That's especially back then. I mean, come on, man. 50,000 people. That's a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
Bro,
think about that. That's like taking an NFL football stadium that's filled up, line everybody up in that mug and take them out.
Right.
Yep. All of them. I'm talking about the staff, the parking attendants, the players, everybody in that mug, everybody that walked through that turnstile, dead.
Damn.
Go ahead.
Phew. It says, and the people lamented because Yahweh had smitten many of the people with a great slaughter. you know. And I believe when we were reading in First Samuel, what was that, chapter 3, you know, when the Ark of the Lord was taken, it was like it wasn't even that many people. It was like 30,000 people that were slaughtered in the day that you know Israel lost that battle and the Ark of the Lord was taken. So the Most High smote more people when the Ark of the Lord returned than when it had left.
Yep.
So
Man.
that's heavy, man. And like I said, back then, 2,500 years ago, man, even 1,000 men, that's like 10,000 men now. So imagine if the Most High jacked up 50,000 of his own people back then when Israel was smaller than they are now. Imagine how many people are going to be getting put to death in these times to come, man. But people don't think about that, man. They don't think about that. We just 50,000, damn, that's a lot, and then we just move on with our lives.
That's the thing. We approaching the times where people. That's what I'm saying. A nigga getting shot by the cops. Get out of here with that. That shit is over with. We talking about people. What at a soccer game? 130 people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? People finna be dying in droves, groups, and bunches and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You see? Yeah, 2 people died in a car accident. No. Everybody on tour finna get fucked up.
Man.
You finna start seeing hundreds and thousands of people dying together.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because we're reading about it in the history.
Right.
Presently, we're seeing the build-up for it, meaning it's gonna happen in the future. Go ahead.
Yep. And people think that just because, you know, nothing like this has really happened on a major scale in recent times, that, you know, that's talking about the old days. Okay, they're gonna see. You know, it says in verse 20, and the men of Bethshemesh said, who was able to stand before this holy Yahweh, our power? And to whom shall he go up from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kirjath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have brought again the ark of Yahweh. Come ye down and fetch it up to you. Okay, so let's go on to the next verse. Okay, because again, the city Bethshemesh, which doesn't pop up on this map that I have here. There's a couple other maps on this website, you know, but you know, I'll leave that to another time. But you know, basically, Shiloh, you know, was you know a little bit closer, you know, to Jerusalem, but actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit more south as well. Okay, so going back to this scripture in 1 Samuel 7, it says, and the men of Kirjath Jearim came and fetched up the ark of the Lord and brought it into the house of Benadab in the hill, and sanctified Eleazar his son to keep the ark of the Lord. Verse 2, and it came to pass while the ark abode in Kirjath Jearim, that the time was long, for it was 20 years. And all the house of Israel lamented after the Lord. So that's another 20 years that the ark of the Lord, you know, everybody was scared to touch it. They didn't want to mess up with the Most High. They didn't want to get put to death. You know, they heard about how the Most High ain't playing, so they didn't want to mess around. I'm trying to
I'll say that's how I'll say the word is our ark of the covenant, man. We want to make sure we got it right. We don't want to play no games with it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But that's what I'm saying. When the Lord shows you, I mean, it ain't no way to get around it. What you looking for?
No, I was just looking at the map in my sword. I was just looking at some stuff. But anyway, okay. I'm gonna keep reading here. All right, so 20 years passed. That's a long time for sure. So you see how the Bible skips time periods too, man. The Most High's, you know, his ways are not our ways. You know what I'm saying? The time period of, you know, us pushing this word may seem, you know, long relative to our lifespan, but we're talking about the Most High here. You know, everything is done in the Lord's time.
Yep. Okay. Our comfort comes through the scriptures.
Mm-hmm. Con. So it says in verse 3, and Samuel spake unto all the house of Israel, saying, if ye do return unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua with all your hearts, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you, and prepare your hearts unto Yahweh. and serve
See,
him.
I was saying that's what I'm saying. Samuel, look, all this Ark of the Covenant, all this that look, the Lord will deliver us out of the hands of the Philistines. Y'all ain't gonna do it. It ain't. Look, we have one option, just one. Y'all done tried every goddamn thing else.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead,
Con. Yeah, I was looking for Shiloh. So Shiloh is actually all the way up here.
Yeah.
Okay. Above north of Jerusalem, but I know it was a little bit east from the Philistines area. But yeah, Shiloh was all the way up here. So that was probably like a long ways away. But the ark wasn't even in Shiloh anymore. It was in Kirjath Jearim, some tinier city, tinier little city. So continuing on, it says, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you. And basically, when you go into Ashtaroth, that was actually, let's go into it. Let's go into the Hebrew word real quick, because basically that was a major god that was worshipped amongst the Canaanites, that still, even to this day, it still has hold on our people. That word, Strong's H62 52, Ishtartha, it says star, okay, a false goddess in the Canaanite religion, usually related to the fertility cult. Yep. So
yep, they worship. I would say they worship women.
Mm-hmm.
They worship infertility. That's what I'm saying. That's off.
Yep. That feminist, spirit, man. Nothing is new under the sun. Like the elder said before we started the lesson. Like, a lot of this stuff that Jake was doing, back, 2,500 years ago, 2,600 years ago, man, it's the same spirit. Israel is in the same spirit today. They're in there. They're dwelling comfortably. They're in their, apartments. They got their social media. They got their, electric cars. You know what I'm saying? And Jake is just complacent, man. Worshiping these women, our men worshiping these women, and our women worshiping themselves. And it's just not a good look, at all. But this is all heathenistic stuff. But you try to tell this to the average Israelite, so-called Negro, Latino, Native American individual today, they're gonna look at you like you got three heads. What?
Because you go into the history. You're like, bro, this ain't what we supposed to be. We ain't supposed to be smoking rocks and selling drugs and hoeing and doing all that. Because when you go back into the history where it's talking about us, we wasn't doing that. And when we did do that, we got punished. You see? So Deuteronomy 28, 16, 28, 16, 15 on down made its way to 2022, nigga.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let's go.
Kind. It says, let's see here. In the middle of verse 3, it says, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you, and prepare your hearts unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. Yeah, because best believe the Philistines are still trying to jack up Israel. The only reason why they returned the Ark of the Covenant back is because the Lord was utterly killing everybody. You're smiting them with hemorrhoids and jacking them up. So they had to send that back, but that didn't stop the Philistines from trying to get their land back. That Israel took. The Lord gave Israel the land. The Philistines never stopped fighting, man. It says, then the children of Israel did put away Balaam and Ashtaroth and served the Lord only. Okay, Baal, another god deity that was worshipped. Even to this day, our people worshiping Ishtar. A lot of these are the same gods, Semiramis and Tammuz. Those are a lot of the same deities that just take on different names over time. It says, and Samuel said, gather all Israel to Mizpeh, and I will pray for you unto Yahweh. Okay, so
Daniel did the same thing. Daniel did the same thing in chapter 4. Was it 4 or 9? Chapter 4. Pray for the nation.
Right.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think he got that from Samuel? You don't think he knew that had been done before? Go ahead, Doc.
Con. Yep. And Let me see here. It says, and the city Mizpeh was in the land of Benjamin, by the way. So it's kind of like a centralized city. Okay, it says, and they gathered together to Mizpeh and drew water and poured it out before Yahweh and fasted on that day and said there, we have sinned against Yahweh. And Samuel judged the children of Israel in Mizpeh.
That's what I'm saying. That's gonna come, bro. The Lord talking about giving his elect spiritual power. He gonna have to be dealing with niggas too. That's what I'm saying. The spiritual power is for the prophets. You know what I'm saying? Those like-minded men to judge according to the law, based on what the Lord wants. Yeah. So them 70,000 Israelites that got killed in one day. Guess what? They gonna see it again because the Lord he's proven throughout these accounts that we going into that he started with Israel. Let's go.
That's right. It says in verse 7, and when the Philistines heard that the children of Israel were gathered together to Mizpeh, the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. So here you go, the Philistines always trying to, but the reason why the Philistines were even a thing was because when the Lord established Israel in the land, they didn't kill all of the Philistines off. So the Lord said, okay, well, since you didn't do what I told you, yeah, you in the land right now, but basically these people are always going to be here as a thorn in your side to just mess with you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going on. There's a fulfillment of that. And it says the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. And when the children of Israel heard it, they were afraid of the Philistines.
Stop. Why the fuck are y'all afraid at this point?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You should be afraid of the Lord, not the Philistines.
Right. God.
You see, bro, they took the Ark of the Covenant from you and brought it back. And you still scared of them. Jake is fucking unbelievable, bro.
Kind.
And them same niggas is here today.
Yep.
Same shit.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Not spiritual. Because if I may add, Zaquan, basically, like you would think, if they were spiritual, they would know that it was the Most High that allowed them to fall into the hand of the Philistines. But they're thinking, like, damn, the Philistines, last time we went up against them 21 years ago, we got our asses handed to us. Everybody got killed. So they were tripping, they were bugging out, right? And in verse 8, it says, and the children of Israel said to Samuel, cease not to cry unto Yahweh our power for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Philistines. Okay, and so it says in verse 9, and Samuel took a sucking lamb and offered it for a burnt offering holy unto Yahweh. And Samuel cried unto Yahweh for Israel, and Yahweh Bashem Yahushai heard him. So ultimately, that's what we're doing, man. The elect, we're crying unto the Most High, offering up spiritual. Well, I got to get that. We bring it out pretty much like every lesson, but it never gets old. 1 Peter chapter 2. Okay, we're offering up those spiritual sacrifices, man. Okay, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5, it says, ye also as lively stones. This is the equivalent of what Samuel did, what we just read in 1 Samuel 7. This is the equivalent of that in today's time. Okay, now the Yahushua came on the scene and him being our sacrifice. It says, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house. Because what was the purpose of the house of the Most High? For the Spirit of the Most High to dwell and abide there and for us to worship him there. Okay, so now the house is spiritual. It says, and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahushua. Okay, so that's
now we make our bodies a living sacrifice. You see, you tend to be more, you tend to be less reckless when you have to sacrifice yourself. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord showed us that, hey, you're gonna have to deal with this cup. So knowing that you're gonna have to deal with this cup, you want to be as prepared as you can for it. Because what the Lord say, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord will fight for you. You see, so if you're not willing to strive at all, let alone not striving to death, then you can't look for the Lord to have mercy on you. Go ahead.
That's right. Okay, continuing on in see, what was that verse 10? It says, and as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel. So where was that they were in? Oh, Mizpeh. Let's see if it's on this map. It was like over here. Let me see, Mizpeh. Okay, it was somewhere like in this area, kind of like south of Jericho, north of Jerusalem, somewhere like in this area when you look at Mizpeh in the map. Okay, so the Philistine, you know, they marching through. And I know this looks big, but really, where's the scale sign at? So like, all right, so like this portion here, 25 miles, this red bar right here. So yeah, they maybe had to go maybe like, you know, 25, 30 miles, no more than 50 miles. This from like coast from the Mediterranean Sea to the Salt Sea, maybe no more than 75 miles max. So to get, you know, to that city that they approached, Mizpeh, it probably maybe took them a day or two, maybe like two, 3 days. You know what I'm saying? Even though we're looking at this map and it looks big, you know, it really maybe might have taken them maybe a little bit more than 3 days because it's kind of mountainous. But the distance, ground clearance wise, yeah, it really wasn't like super long. Like, so these cities, it didn't take very, very long to travel from, you know, from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, for example. Like some of these cities that you could walk there in less than a day, a lot of these cities. So just throwing that out there in case you're like, damn, how'd they get there so quick? But it says, as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel, but the Lord thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Israel.
That's what I'm saying. Every time the Lord flexes, he wins. But yet you still got Jake that's scared as fuck. Read on.
Man, kind. Yep. The common theme should be the Most High is our superhero, man.
Yeah, I don't say the Lord can't do nothing but kill a nigga that don't believe that he worked miracles right in front of your damn face. Golly, man. That's what I'm saying. Bro, the Lord can literally work a miracle and 2 minutes later it's forgotten. 2 minutes later.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. And you wonder why he ain't got no problem wasting flesh. Read.
Verse 11, and the men of Israel went out of Mizpeh and pursued the Philistines and smote them until they came under Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpeh and Shin and called the name of it Ebenezer, saying, hitherto hath Yahweh Bashem Yahushai helped us.
That's what I'm saying. Samuel, the only one that got it right. Everybody else shaking and scared and all leafy. And, you know what I'm saying? He like, bro, the Lord got us. Go ahead.
And if I may add, Zaquan, like, you know,
who Samuel is in the reincarnation. Man,
somebody very faithful.
Right?
Yeah. And just dealing with Israel shit and just like shaking their head at Israel. They probably shaking their head at Israel right now.
Man.
You know? I was gonna say the thing about a lot of these stones, like you'll read about, you know, great men, you know, Joshua that took a stone and set it in a certain place. These were monuments, memorials, just like how now you got you know, statue of George Floyd or a statue of Sam Houston or, you know, statue of whatever to commemorate somebody's, you know, life or this great person or whatever. You know, the men of the Lord, they would set up altars. They would, you know, build altars to the Most High, or they would take a stone as for a memorial to where, you know, they probably, you know, wrote a little bit of you know, Hebrew on it or whatever the case was to let it be known, you know, why that stone was there. And these were things that were reminders for those that passed by, you know, what had happened. So just thought I'd bring that up because you read, this is a common thing that was done, you know, when you read the history. It says in verse 13, so the Philistines were subdued and they came no more into the coast of Israel. Okay. And the hand of Yahweh was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. So, you know, they, after that instance, they fell back. They're like, look, man, you know, the Lord jacked us up. The Lord protected them. You know, we're going to just chill right now. Philistines, until you get to, you know, Saul's time, I'll say. And the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron even unto Gath, and the coasts thereof did Israel deliver out of the hands of the Philistines, and there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Okay, so basically, the Lord, gave those cities back that were, over here on the end, Gezer, Gath, these cities over here are kind of on the border. The Lord gave them back to Israel. Okay, continuing on, these are the last three verses. It says, and Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life, and he went from year to year in circuit to Bethel and Gilgal and Mizpeh, and judged Israel in all those places.
Ooh, man, that's what I say, man. Look, when the Lord is dealing with the prophets, he's dealing with the prophets, man. Period. He shares his secrets with his servants, the prophets. Go ahead.
Con. It says, and his return was to Ramah, for there was his house, and there he judged Israel, and there he built an altar unto Yahweh.
He built an altar unto who?
Unto Yahweh.
That's what I'm saying. What name did he put on the altar? Israel United in Cardinality?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Man.
Bro, you gonna fly all over the world to tell the people that the name of the Lord don't matter? Oh, okay. Okay. But shit, man, look. We've been going through these accounts, and we get more and more boosted. We get more and more faith as we go back into the history. You see? You got something to end off with?
Con, yeah. Second Corinthians 11 and verse 13, it says, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Mashiach. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Talking about those individuals that know the name of the Most High, but they remove it. They say, oh yeah, IUIC talking about, yeah, we're Hebrews, we're not Hebrew Israelites, or excuse me, we're Israelites, but we're not Hebrew Israelites. Again, they come off as a form of righteous men that that the Lord is dealing with, and they basically downplaying all the men, the real men that's preaching the word.
Yep.
But the scriptures talk about, man, deceitful workers, false apostles,
spiritual men see through your jive ass like glass,
man.
Period. We see.
Yep.
Look, we get it. You gotta fulfill prophecy, but we gotta fulfill prophecy too by getting on your ass.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So yeah, man. At the end of the day, the Lord is gonna start with Israel, and he gonna kick the heathens' ass too. And those that hearken will be fine. They gonna have to go through it. We gonna feel it, but we'll be fine if we just believe. He that endure to the end shall be saved. So if you're not already sold out before Jacob's trouble, adios, amigo. So with that, hey, we want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekahak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the Akim teaching about the Mayim Wa'amat. That's in sincerity and truth. Shalom.
Shalom.